When I got to Stanford is when I learned about how to name things. And there's like power dynamics in the fields where people who are born in the United States have like more power and will do jobs that are easier. And like Indigenous people are at the very bottom of that hierarchy. And like, I don't know, it's just such an ugly, like when you think of people who abuse power, I think of people in the field.
In Chengal's film, The Harvest, one of the things we do is try to raise awareness of the plight of child farm workers in America. And I think something that Americans don't realize is there's 400 to 500,000 child farm workers working right now.
You know, it's a common thing in my community. A lot of us either make the decision ourselves to start going with our parents, or our parents kind of encourage us to go. For me, it was more of a personal decision where I saw my mom going to work every day and I thought like, oh, can I go with you? And I did go with her one time, and I kind of just went like a picnic and hung out with her. Didn't really help her. And I was like 10. She packed me lunch. It was more of like a field day for me. But then I turned 13 or 14 and I was like, okay, now I'm going to take it seriously. And I went with her. And I think looking back, I was so young and that work really broke me. I think the blueberry fields are a little bit more manageable, but then I tried to start the apple harvest, and during the apple harvest, you carry this big bag of apples on your body, and you have to climb ladders with it and climb down and move it. And it's at least 75 pounds. And I was like,
you were probably 75 pounds.
Yeah, I was like, that was 75% of my body mass. And during that first day of the apple harvest, it broke me, and I cried to my mom and I was like, I can't do this. And what ends up happening is that a lot of the people in power in the field, so like the checkers, the people who don't have to pick, the people who are like assessing the quality of your harvest, will pick on the kids. And so this lady kept coming by and like telling me, she's like, that's not looking good. Like, you better put in some real effort. Wow. And I was like, I just like broke down and started crying. And I told my mom, I was like, I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. And she didn't want to go home. She needed the money. And she's like, call your aunt.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. It's like, call my aunt. And she came to pick me up. And I saw my mom when she got home from work.
Oh my gosh.
But you know, my brother could handle it. He was 14 and he was working in apple harvest and did the whole thing. So I think, yeah, it's a very difficult place to be, especially for kids. It's also pretty crazy because when I got to Stanford is when I learned about how to name things. And there's like power dynamics in the fields where people who are born in the United States have like more power and will do jobs that are easier. And like Indigenous people are at the very bottom of that hierarchy. And like, I don't know, it's just such an ugly, it's not a very, like when you think of people who abuse power, I think of people in the field. So I'm excited about doing this because I think that there has been a lack in outlets to make these stories more visible.
Yeah, so I thought an interesting way for us to start would be just for me to read some of your tweets through the years.
Yeah, go for it. I don't know what I've tweeted, but
don't worry, we're not here to cancel you.
Thank you. I don't know. There's
no cancelable tweets on all of Gianna's Twitter. I started from the very beginning. So we're in the clear. You wrote, I was reflecting today with my sister on whether imposter syndrome ever goes away or takes up less of my mind space. How do you manage it during classes, work, projects?
Yeah. I think more often than not, I kind of think the opposite. And this is definitely something that I'm going to therapy for because I am at Stanford and it feels so surreal. And sometimes it does feel like an accident. It feels like maybe they admitted me on accident. I just kind of like sliding under the radar.
Yeah.
Because I do struggle in my classes, but I think sometimes I attribute that struggle to just like not really belonging and like kind of being an accident admit.
You belong. Yeah, you're changing the world. Another tweet is something you retweeted. You retweeted grad school, more like ... sad school.
Yeah, I was feeling that at that moment. I think my master's, I did my master's here at Stanford as well in epidemiology, and Stanford is a very techie place, and I am not a techie person. My sister is, but I am not. And I was having to learn how to code in SAS, which is not it's not as hard as like real software engineering languages, but I was having such a hard time, and I was really feeling sad in that moment.
Yeah. Well, I can't even code regularly, but to code sassily.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Is grad school, can you reflect on some times, or were there times where it was ever like glad school?
Glad school.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be candid with you here. The only times where grad school was glad school was when I had a break from grad school. So I remember whenever I would like turn in either like a portion of my thesis or like something that I had to do, I would play Sims as like a breather. And I would play Sims for like 8 to 10 hours. And I'd see like the sun like set and like I'd still be playing. When I look back, I was like, those are some glad times. I wish I had 8 to 10 hours to play Sims now. I do not.
And then I saw this. You retweeted someone who made art for Oaxacan millennials that's Pokemon.
I think there's a big push from Indigenous Oaxacan folks to really make ourselves more seen and be more prideful about our culture, because even in the fields, and I think this is one topic that throughout this whole ordeal, I didn't really get to talk a lot about, but Indigenous Oaxacans and Indigenous people as a whole get discriminated against by other Latinx communities very strongly. And I think that that's one portion of the narrative that didn't really get touched on when people were asking me about being a farmworker.
Really?
Yeah.
So, and could you speak to that more? Because I did not know that at all.
Yeah. So a large proportion of farm workers are from Indigenous communities. These are communities that tend to have been left out in Mexico from economic development. And so, for example, speaking from personal experience, I don't want to speak for all the villages, but in my case, our village, all of the men migrated to the United States because we had no work. And during that time, there's also a lot of other migrants from other communities in Mexico, but because Oaxaca is also a state that has a large proportion of Indigenous peoples that still speak their native language, people that maintain their culture, there has been a lot of discrimination based on the way we look, the way we speak. You think that, discrimination is no longer a thing, that Latinx unity is very strong, but like in the fields, I would still hear people who would get mad at Indigenous folks for speaking their native language and say, oh, that language gives me a headache. Like,
wow.
And this is like this past year.
Who said it? Biggie Smalls versus Ariana Grande. Block out all negative energy and just love.
I feel like Ariana Grande, maybe? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I love it when they call me Big Papa.
It has to be Biggie Smalls. This can't be Ariana Grande. I'm gonna go with Biggie Smalls. Final answer.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, she is Ariana Grande. She could have been Big Papa.
True.
I don't regret anything because every choice I've made, I've learned something new.
I'm gonna go with Biggie Smalls.
Ariana.
Really? Okay.
Yep. I know what I came to do, and that ain't gonna change.
That's Biggie.
Ariana.
Really? Oh my God. I'm so bad at these.
You know very well who you are. Don't let them hold you down. Reach for the stars.
I'm gonna say Biggie again.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, good.
And lastly, life is beautiful. Be thankful for everything.
Ariana.
Yep. Good job.
Finish strong.
Finish strong, yes. Thank you for being our activist of the week.
Hey.
And yeah, we're so excited to follow your journey. Oh man, I'm looking at my notes right now of like all the stuff we didn't get to. You played bass clarinet.
Yes, I did.
I love that fact. Like most kids play, if they're gonna play an instrument, it's the regular clarinet.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, I want the extra one.
Yeah, I loved it. It was such a great experience.
When you were carrying the instrument home, did you ever drop it?
No.
So you never dropped the bass?
No.